Hi guys, welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review of Everton's 1-1 draw with Manchester United yesterday afternoon at Goodison Park. Despite the fact that we should have won the game 2-1 and very clearly and fairly did win the game, the referee and VAR decided that Manchester United simply aren't allowed to lose in the last 5 minutes, so they chalked a perfectly good goal off for a silly excuse which makes absolutely no sense. Listen, obviously we're going to talk about the VAR decision in today's live stream. We're going to talk about the referees, we're going to talk about the corruption within the Premier League as well. I don't just want to make this a big massive rant on VAR. You know, a lot of yesterday's instant match reaction was purely aimed towards my anger and frustration. I'm not going to lie, I am still proper fuming about it because I just don't understand how in anyone's mind you can say that that goal isn't fair and shouldn't be allowed. Gylfi Sigurdsson very clearly isn't impeding with play. Firstly, he isn't blocking the sight of a 6'5" plus goalkeeper as he's lying on the floor. Secondly, thirdly, David De Gea's eyes never move away from the ball. And fourthly, it actually comes off a Manchester United defender. So therefore, we've had a goal VAR'd against us for offside, despite the fact that it would have went down as an own goal, which is just absolutely baffling. But like I said, I don't just want to go in and rant constantly about it today. I do want to try and break the game down and constructively and try and talk about some of the positives and some of the negatives as well, because before that moment it wasn't the best performance by Everton, but certainly we showed in the second half that we can pick ourselves up and that we can go and take the game to sides like Manchester United. It was said on Twitter yesterday, and I said in my instant match reaction, they're not a big club anymore. They're just simply not. They've got a team full of average footballers. Their standout player yesterday being Bruno Fernandes, who ultimately we gave too much time to on the ball, but other than him, they haven't got any real quality that are going to do anything special in world football, in my opinion, and that showed yesterday. But I do just want to start the live stream by giving a little bit of an update on Carlo Ancelotti. As I'm sure most of you know, if not everybody knows, Carlo Ancelotti received a red card at the end of yesterday's game for basically just asking referee Chris Calvert-Lewin why the goal was disallowed. This in itself is an absolutely disgraceful and disgusting situation. How a manager can be sent off for simply talking to a referee is beyond me. If you've seen the video footage, you'll see Carlo Ancelotti appearing to be talking to the linesman. The linesman very smugly, very arrogantly turns his head away. Chris Calvert-Lewin decides to say, no, you speak to me. So then Carlo Ancelotti says, sound, fine, I'll speak to you. And then he goes, oh no, you're not speaking to me. Red card, go off. There has been an update on it. The FA have released a statement saying that Carlo Ancelotti has been charged with improper conduct due to his language/behaviour towards match official Chris Calvert-Lewin yesterday. And Everton and Carlo Ancelotti has up until Thursday to respond to this and to obviously put in an appeal against this. According to Patrick Boylan, The Echo and Greg O'Keefe, Everton are looking to appeal it basically straight away on Carlo Ancelotti's behalf, and they are hopeful that he'll still be able to be on the touchline against Chelsea. If it's not the case and the appeal doesn't go through, then obviously Duncan Ferguson will manage the side directly on the touchline, Carlo Ancelotti being in the stands somewhere, I dare say with a microphone on, to manage the side remotely. But again, for me, just to touch on that entire situation again, I really don't understand how Carlo Ancelotti can be sent off and can be given a ban or a touchline ban for improper conduct for simply asking the referee to explain a decision, whilst Fred, half an hour later in the game, can barge himself aggressively into the referee, making direct physical violent conduct with the referee, only receive a yellow card but no ban whatsoever. I really don't understand it. And again, for anybody that's watching in the live comments that may be an Everton fan, that may be a fan of another football club, that thinks when we talk about corruption in football and agendas against football clubs like Everton, and you may sit back and think that's a bit far-fetched, these are the type of situations that you look at and you think, well, it's not far-fetched, is it? Because a Manchester United player has thrown himself and made physical contact to a referee in a game of football, only received a yellow card for it, or I don't even think he got a card for it. He got a card initially for the foul he committed. But our manager can simply ask for an explanation and be given a red card. And the reason as to why he was given a red card is because Chris Calvert-Lewin wanted to get Ancelotti out of his face, because he had no explanation as to why a perfectly good goal was disallowed by a corrupt official sitting behind the screen, who ultimately we found out was John Moss. And as soon as we knew it was John Moss, we knew there was always going to be an issue yesterday, because it's clear that he's A, really, really bad at his job, and B, as corrupt as they come. Chris Calvert-Lewin, born in Manchester, grew up a Manchester United fan, it just screams corruption, doesn't it? You look at the officials that we've been given for next week's game. So we've come out yesterday and we've argued with the Premier League, we've argued with the FA. Carlo Ancelotti's been out there and he's been given his thoughts, and now the officials have been announced for next week's fixtures. Obviously Everton playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and we've been given Kevin Friend as the on-field referee, who is absolutely atrocious and barely knows his own name, and Martin Atkinson as VAR, who is known in multiple times in previous years to absolutely hate Everton Football Club, and the fact that he's now sitting behind the screen and is going to have no attention on him or no one shouting at him directly. He's just going to be sitting in a room with a burger, sitting behind the screen. He's going to absolutely do us over on Sunday, so prepare yourselves for that one. But anyway, we're not here just to talk about the situation regarding Ancelotti or the VAR situation, of course. We're here to review the entire game. Now, listen, ideally, I'd have probably made a separate video on the Ancelotti situation and a separate video on VAR, but it all sort of, it all happened within the same space of an hour and a half, didn't it? So it's worth talking about it in the review. But I do, like I said, I do want to constructively break down the game, because I think it's important that we do that and we don't just go on and talking about the last sort of 5 minutes where it was very clear that we were done over. Obviously, we started really, really well in the game. Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting us 1-0 up straight away. Fantastic sort of sense of chasing the ball down and almost understanding that David De Gea was going to make a mistake. Couple of minutes in, again, second game on the run, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's put us ahead within a couple of minutes. He decides to rush down the goalkeeper. David De Gea takes a little bit too much time on the ball, tries to hit it long, unfortunately for him, very fortunately for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, doesn't get it anywhere near sort of the height that he would have wanted. Dom sticks his foot out, it hits his foot and it goes in, and all of a sudden it's ecstatic for Evertonians. I was sitting in the park end, literally right in front of it, and I was absolutely made up. Not only were we 1-0 up within a couple of minutes, not only again was it, another game we've gone ahead and another goal for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but it was that type of work rate that you want to see from Dominic Calvert-Lewin, almost sensing, right, okay, this isn't just a dead ball, the goalkeeper's not just going to lump it up, he may hit it and it may come off me, so Dom obviously sticks a foot out, and ultimately the ball hits his foot and it goes in, and it's absolutely fantastic. And again, like I said, I did look at the referee during that phase of play, and it almost seemed like he was looking for a reason to not give that goal as well, but ultimately there was definitely nothing wrong with that. He give it and Everton go 1-0 up, and then literally a couple of minutes later, we're only talking 5-6 minutes into the game, we go 1-on-1 again, a good ball comes through, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is beating his defender for pace, beating his defender for strength, and he's 1-on-1 with David De Gea, and you're almost thinking, fucking hell, if we can go 2-0 up within the space of 6 minutes, if David De Gea can make another shocker here, then surely their confidence will just hit the floor and it'll go rock bottom. Dom gets 1-on-1, like I said, he sort of punts it. Ideally, would have liked him to have hit it with the outside of his foot, with the inside of his foot, sorry, but he doesn't. It kind of balls it moves away from him a little bit, so he's forced to hit it with his toe basically, and David De Gea makes a good stretch and save, and it goes out for the corner. Again, we create another opportunity after that, nothing much, and then for the rest of the first half, pretty much, Manchester United got control of the ball, and I think that I felt Everton, didn't do what we should have yesterday, and sort of struggled in yesterday, was that control in the midfield. Again, Carlo Ancelotti put out a midfield that I think got a few Evertonians sort of thinking that Andre Gomez coming back in, which was almost a cert, Tom Davies partnering him next to him, and then of course on the wings you had Theo Walcott and Gylfi Sigurdsson again. Now, no real issue with Andre Gomez or Theo Walcott being in there. I felt at the start of the game, despite the fact that Theo didn't have a great game, but when you're sort of seeing Gylfi Sigurdsson again pushed over on one of the wings, you sort of feel a little bit, I don't know what the word that I'm looking for is, a little bit just not upbeat about it, because we all know Gylfi Sigurdsson's played on the wing before, we all know Gylfi Sigurdsson's played out wide, and he's not a winger, he can't do a job out there, and again, I don't think he was great yesterday. He was in and out the game in patches, he was getting involved every now and then, but he just simply didn't do enough to warrant a position for me week in, week out in this team. And Carlo Ancelotti spoke very, very positively about Gylfi Sigurdsson over the last week, and that's fine. If Carlo Ancelotti thinks he's doing a good job, and I think he's surpassing his expectations midfield wise, then that's fine. But I just can't see a world in where Gylfi Sigurdsson's doing enough playing as a winger. But anyway, Tom Davies was in there, Gylfi Sigurdsson was on the wing, and we all sort of felt when we seen that midfield, a little bit like the midfield we saw against Arsenal, that, you know, we may struggle in terms of keeping the ball and in terms of controlling the game. And I felt like we did in that first half. We struggled to control the game. We give far too much space to their most, you know, most talented player, their best player in Bruno Fernandes. Like I said before, I feel like he's one of the only players Manchester United have got that have got any real quality. And we sort of let Bruno Fernandes control the game, and we sort of let Bruno Fernandes control the rest of that first half, because we couldn't quite put our foot on the ball. We couldn't quite control the game. We couldn't quite, you know, give Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison as many opportunities as we maybe would have liked. They start to control the game. They start to set the pace. You know, we make a couple of good defensive headers. I think they hit the bar with Matic, and then you know the expected sort of comes, doesn't it? Really, we've been on the back foot for the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes. Bruno Fernandes hits one from outside the box, and it swirls in every which way, every direction it possibly can. And it goes underneath Jordan Pickford. Now, a lot of Evertonians, including myself, were very, 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 and are probably very, very, very annoyed at the situation regarding this goal, because Bruno Fernandes doesn't hit it with all sorts of power. Yes, it moves in the air slightly, but it goes underneath Jordan Pickford. And again, we're looking at a situation where we've conceded another goal, and you're sort of thinking, well, Jordan Pickford's to blame there, really. He shouldn't, A, be letting a goal go in his near post, B, be letting a ball go underneath him in that fashion. It's just not good enough, realistically, and it wasn't good enough. Like I said, the ball wasn't it with, you know, an awful lot of venom. It moved, like I said, in the air slightly, but ultimately, he still understood that it was going to be at his near post, and he needed to be on the floor, because the ball wasn't lifted off the floor in any way. He gets beaten, he climbs over it, and all of a sudden it's 1-1. And again, Man United have sort of got that, you know, the momentum's on their side. Then we go into half time, obviously, and I think Carlo Ancelotti has a very clear discussion with every single player. You know, obviously we see Seamus Coleman coming off for Djibril Sidibe. It wasn't a half time, but in and around then. Seamus Coleman coming off for Djibril Sidibe through a forced injury. Again, another game where Everton have been forced to make a substitution through an injury. And then we come out in the second half, and we were just much the better team in the second half. Carlo Ancelotti's tactics proved far too much and far too intelligent for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and for Manchester United. We were creating constant chances. We were breaking forward. We were getting the ball forward. Gylfi Sigurdsson has a free kick where he hits the post. You know, we have multiple crosses into the box where we're unlucky to not do much more with. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for me, again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was absolutely unbelievable yesterday. Man of the match by a country mile, and you know, realistically should have got the winner. Like I said, we'll talk about that one in a bit more depth in just a second. But from his you know, his instinct to get the first goal to his one-on-one opportunity, which, you know, arguably he should do better. I said this yesterday on the day. For me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is, and you might say this is far-fetched, and you mightn't agree with me, and you know, you might call me silly and deluded for this, but for me, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a few one-on-one training sessions, you know, that focus on one-on-one situations. He's a few of them away from being an absolute world-class striker and one of the best strikers in Europe. He really, really is, because he's got everything else to his game. He's got strength, he's got power, he's got pace, he's got ability, he's got aerial threat, he's got work rate, he's got passion, he's got fight. He has got absolutely everything that you would want from a world-class striker. He just needs to be a bit more clinical in front of goal. And obviously, like I said, I don't want to, you know, worry too much about the chance that he had after he scored the goal, because I think it'd be a little bit unfair to do so. But Dom yesterday, for me, was absolutely fantastic throughout the entire game. Like I said, he was creating constantly, he was using his pace, he was using his power, and he was that sort of icon we needed in the middle of the park to pick the ball up and to out-muscle, you know, their defenders, to out-muscle their midfield, and that's exactly what he done. There was a moment where I think Jordan Pickford put a long ball up, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin just plucked it out the air with his foot, took it, and then ran with it. And it, you know, that type of player, and the fact that Dominic Calvert-Lewin takes on that kind of role, it allows the likes of Richarlison, it allows the likes of Gylfi Sigurdsson, Theo Walcott, whoever's playing on the wings, Bernard, to move off him and to make space around that, because, you know, we know now there's not going to be many Premier League defenders that will want to go up against Dominic Calvert-Lewin because they know they'll be beaten for either pace, for either strength, or for aerial ability. Dominic Calvert-Lewin will win. I honestly believe he'd win a header against any player in the Premier League. I honestly believe that. And you know, teams are starting to understand just the type of threat that he is, and that allows Richarlison to move off him. That allows other players to move off him. So I thought he was absolutely fantastic yesterday. You know, along with like I said, Mason Holgate again defensively. Michael Keane, I thought, had a really, really good game. Again, the goal, you know, we could have picked Bruno Fernandes up a little bit more. We possibly shouldn't have given as much space as we could. But then again, you know, then we did. But then again, you know, you can't really fault one of the defenders when it should have been, you know, quite a straightforward save for the goalkeeper. But like I said, I thought Michael Keane, Mason Holgate again yesterday were fantastic. Seamus Coleman obviously having to go off early on, which wasn't sort of ideal, and then Djibril Sidibe coming on. Djibril Sidibe caught out straight away, and that's what caused Manchester United's goal. Again, he takes 10-15 minutes to get into any game, Sidibe, doesn't he? He's always sort of caught, he's always sort of asleep when he first sort of, whether he comes on the pitch or when he starts. And then, like I said, obviously in the second half, I think we dominated, we created the more opportunities, and we done more than enough to deserve the win. Players like Dom, even Tom Davies, who again, in patches was in and out, but I thought in the second half was picking the ball up, was using his sort of head to guide his feet, and I think he put in a decent performance on Sunday yesterday. Andre Gomez, obviously first game back in the side, first game starting, obviously come on against Arsenal briefly, looked fantastic against Arsenal. I thought he'd done okay yesterday. It wasn't obviously the type of Andre Gomez performance that we want to see, but you could clearly see that, you know, he was struggling with match fitness a little bit. He's only played half an hour in 2, 3, 4 months or something like that, so I thought he'd done okay considering the fact that he hasn't played an awful lot of games due to his only just coming back from his injury. But then of course the inevitable happens, and I feel like it's, you know, it'd be a little bit silly for us to not highlight it and to not talk really in detail about it, because it's a disgraceful situation and it's a disgraceful decision in it. But before we go into it anyway, obviously Jordan Pickford nearing the end of the game, it's getting a little bit end to end. We're having, you know, a lot of opportunities. Man United themselves get forward, they have a corner, they have a couple of opportunities themselves. Firstly, obviously Manchester United's one, ball comes in, one of the very rare opportunities they had in the second half, corner comes in, Jordan Pickford makes an absolutely fantastic save, and then falls to Agallo, literally 5 yards away from the line, only needs to tap it in, and Pickford gets straight back up, throws himself across the area, literally throws himself across the goal and makes another save. It's an absolutely unbelievable double save, and I know there'll be a lot of Evertonians, and I know there was a lot of Evertonians yesterday, all the way through today, tonight, that'll be saying that Jordan Pickford isn't good enough and he needs to be taken out the squad and he needs to be sold. An Everton fan pulled me up at the end of the game and said, you know, he's not good enough, he needs to be sold, and that's completely fair enough, because listen, at the end of the day, it's all ifs, buts and maybes really, innit? If Jordan Pickford had saved, you know, Bruno Fernandes' effort, which realistically he should have, then we'd have won the game. But I like to sort of think on both sides really. If David De Gea wouldn't have made an absolute shocking error, then we wouldn't have scored the first goal ultimately. But again, like I said, you have to give praise when praise is due, and you have to give credit when credit is due. Jordan Pickford made a shocking mistake yesterday, which needs to be focused on, and he needs to get these ironed out, because it is becoming a frequent occurrence now where he's making mistakes like this week in, week out, where he's either a yard in front of where he needs to be or his foot gets stuck. We've heard it all from Jordan Pickford now, and he needs to be ironing these out. But you also have to praise him, you know, for when he's performing, or when he's made a fantastic save, and that yesterday was definitely a save that kept us in the game. So Jordan Pickford makes an absolutely fantastic double save. We go up the other end, obviously, ball comes in, Richarlison does really well, Gylfi Sigurdsson gets a shot on, is completely wiped out by Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Referee, VAR, linesman, John Moss, nobody decides to look at it, nobody decides to take any notice of it. Ball comes then to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, very clearly in an onside position. Gylfi Sigurdsson still remains on the floor, by the way, from that challenge. Calvert-Lewin hits it, it takes a deflection off Harry Maguire, therefore meaning it's own goal. It wrong foots David De Gea because it takes a deflection, not because Gylfi Sigurdsson sat on the floor. It goes in, elation, limbs, fans, up in the air, cannot believe it. I was going absolutely mad, all for VAR to rule it out, which ultimately we all left the stadium, we watched the replay, and you're sitting there thinking, A, how the fuck's it being ruled out? B, how the fuck's it not being given a penalty then if you're deciding that Sigurdsson is some way impeding De Gea's line of sight, how is it not given a penalty for a foul against him from Wan-Bissaka? I just don't know. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. I want to tweet this team out. Firstly, I understand we've been ranting for a little bit, and then of course we'll get involved in the live comments. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Are you still fuming? Are you a little bit whatever now about it? Do you just sort of come to expect these things from referees against Everton Football Club? It seems to be happening sort of week in, week out, doesn't it, really? You know, at the end of the day, we're seeing it far too often, aren't we? You know, the game against Brighton, the game against Brighton, Michael Keane, you know, literally standing on the foot by accident of a Brighton attacker, and it's given a penalty against us. They then come out and say that's not a penalty. It's just an absolute joke, isn't it? Bear with me 2 seconds. Let me just tweet this out, and then we'll get into the live comments. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Of course. Right, here we go. Sorry, taking a little bit too long here. Sorry about this. A little bit unprofessional. It's the first time watching. It's not like this every week. Just having a little bit of technical difficulties. Eugene says the Everton second Premier League goal should have stood yesterday afternoon against Manchester United. It should have, mate. And to be honest, there's no reason as to why, you know, no real reason as to why it's being disallowed. I know the FA have come out and said that he's impeding the goalkeeper's line of sight, which is completely false. I know the Premier League have come out and said that there's not enough contact in the situation regarding Jordan Pickford, in the situation regarding Gylfi Sigurdsson for it to be a penalty, which is also pretty bollocks, isn't it, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, Ethan says, do you reckon we can still get in the Europa League? I do, but again, we do need to start picking up points because teams around us are picking up points. God says Manchester United. David says forget Europe. I think we probably do need to forget Europe for the time being and just focus on getting the points on the board. Carlo Magnifico says, hello Cam lad, hope you're having a good day, mate. I'm not too bad, mate. Obviously still a little bit fuming after yesterday. Chris says, hi pal, hope you're well. I'm not too bad, Chris, thanks very much. David says Richie and Dom should have scored before that goal. Yeah, they should have. I agree. Obviously, Richarlison has an opportunity where he takes on multiple players and he gets to a good position, and I think he cuts the ball across rather than goes for an effort. And again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has another one, but you know, ultimately, would that have been ruled out? I said in the instant match reaction yesterday, I honestly believe we could have scored a 35-yard screamer and it would have been ruled out. Hernandez says, hey Carmo, Paul as well, still mad about all of that bullshit. Don't understand how Fernandes' shot goes in. Loved Ancelotti before the match, but love him way more now for being boss. Yeah, we'll talk about Carlo Ancelotti in just a second. And now I absolutely love his reaction, and you know, we should all be sitting here realistically, and we are all sitting here, you know, fuming and with a sense of disgust and still a little bit upset about it. But I think overall, there's a feeling surrounding Evertonians, especially me. You know, I've felt it today where we've woke up and we've sort of felt like, you know what, we've been done over there by a corrupt official and by a board and a body that will not let Manchester United lose in that fashion in the last minute. But how good is it to see an Everton manager finally coming out and finally getting in the face of referees and finally standing up for the football club? If there was any rumours, if there was any nonsense about Carlo Ancelotti only coming to Everton for a last payday and only coming to Everton, you know, for the money, that's all been scrapped now. It's very clear he's here for the project, and he's very clear he's passionate about this football club, and it was absolutely fantastic to see him getting involved, getting in the face of the referee. It was fantastic to see Duncan Ferguson after pulling him away when Tom Davis and Dominic Calvert-Lewin were having a little scuffle with Luke Shaw. He was right on the pitch getting involved with it. It really, really is brilliant to see it, and I absolutely love Carlo Ancelotti. I really, really do. Where are we? Chris says, fair play to Ancelotti, about time manager stands up these garbage officials, spot on. Jerry says, if that had happened at the other end, they would have given the goal, plus the referees from Manchester, so how is it allowed that he can referee games involving Manchester teams? Exactly. Ian says, penalty. Anyway, it was. David says, exactly, Chris. Fast finishes, the old respect campaign towards ref and dicks needs scrapping. How can you be respectful to such a corrupt, in-depth bunch? I'd disagree with that one. God says, can Carlo send a bunch of mafia against the refs? I did feel like that was maybe the way Carlo Ancelotti would go yesterday. Not really messing. If you're enjoying the team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes you seconds. Anyway, yeah, I feel like we have to go into talking about it now, don't we? Because it's the big sort of talking point about the game. Like I said, I just think overall, to be constructive, obviously, we go ahead within the first couple of minutes. We have a fantastic opportunity to make it 2. We don't make it 2. We then give Manchester United far too much space, far too much time on the ball. We allow their midfield to control the game. We allow their most creative player to have too much time on the ball. We don't get stuck into him. We go in at half-time. We come out. It's clear Carlo Ancelotti's spoken to the lads. It's clear Carlo Ancelotti's informed the lads that they need to do more. They need to do better. And we go out and we pretty much dominate the second half. We out-tacticked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We out-tacticked Manchester United. We were in their face. We were creating opportunities. And ultimately, we scored a winning goal that was wrongly disallowed. It wasn't fantastic yesterday. But, you know, again, when you come away from Goodison Park against a side like Manchester United and you've won the game fairly and it's been taken away from you, the only sort of feeling you have is utter sort of bitterness and disgust, isn't it really? But anyway, let's break down the situation, because I don't just want to rant about VAR, I don't just want to rant about the referees, I don't just want to go off on one and just let me head topple over. Let's discuss the situation. So we're talking a couple of minutes left before the game's over. Obviously, like I said, Everton won, Manchester United won. Everton mostly dominant in the second half. I think it'd probably be fair to say that other than the first sort of 10 minutes, Manchester United probably mostly the dominant side in the first half. Manchester United go up to our end, they have an opportunity, corner comes in, brilliant save by Jordan Pickford. He then makes a fantastic second save to deny Garlo, flying across his own goal like we said. Everton go up the other end, Richarlison gets the ball, cuts in the box, plays it across the box to Gylfi Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson runs onto it, smacks it straight at David De Gea. David De Gea makes a fantastic save. So again, in one game, we've seen 2 goalkeepers make a abysmal error each and a fantastic save each. In that situation, Gylfi Sigurdsson hits the ball towards David De Gea. He makes a save. Sigurdsson is then completely wiped out by Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka gets nowhere near the ball whatsoever. Wipes Gylfi Sigurdsson out. Therefore, it's a penalty. Nowhere near the ball. Doesn't play the ball. Doesn't make the ball. Fouls the man. It's a penalty. Anyway, regardless of what, at that point, obviously, I don't think many Evertonians were thinking, that's a penalty at that point, especially after we scored the goal. That's a penalty. Anyway, play goes on. Dominic Calvert-Lewin picks it up in an onside position, shoots from an onside position. Gylfi Sigurdsson still is situated on the floor. Now, I've seen a couple of Evertonians on Twitter. I've seen a lot of Evertonians on Twitter, rather. Maybe a little bit frustrated at why Gylfi Sigurdsson doesn't get up. Maybe a little bit frustrated as to why Gylfi Sigurdsson doesn't just sort of move out the way. Now, I do understand that, and I do understand that frustration. Listen, in hindsight, I'm sure Gylfi Sigurdsson would have stood up and fucking ran the other side of the pitch if he knew what was going to happen. But I dare say he was probably still sat on the floor waiting for the ball to go out of play to say, I'm still fucking sat here, I've been fouled, how is that not a penalty? Anyway, Dominic Calvert-Lewin hits the shot. Not clear whether it's going towards the goal or not clear whether it's going in. Takes a massive deflection off Harry Maguire and it goes in. Ultimately, elation, Everton fans are screaming, we've won the game 2-1, moments to go, we're going to win the game, a fantastic 3 points. Referee goes over to his assistant. Firstly, Harry Maguire follows him along with David De Gea. Harry Maguire was in the face of the referee for the entire game. Carlo Ancelotti talks to the referee for 30 seconds after the game and gets a sending off. Harry Maguire doesn't get anything done to him despite being in the face of the referee for the entire game. That's the first point. He goes over to the officials. Despite the fact that the referee says, you stand over there, don't get involved, he still is allowed to go over. Don't get how that works. The referee initially gives it, the linesman initially gives it. They contact John Moss, who is sat behind the screen with a Big Mac and a can of Coke in front of him, and he's got his Big Mac meal hiding half the screen, he's got his big massive bottle of Coke hiding half the screen, he's got, something rude on the telly hiding the other half the screen, and he says, can't see it really, so don't give a goal. John Moss, VAR official, decides to not give the goal for an utter shambolic reason of that Gylfi Sigurdsson was impeding the view of David De Gea, which firstly he really wasn't. Gylfi Sigurdsson was sat on the floor. David De Gea, like I said at the start of the scene, a 6'4", 6'5" plus goalkeeper, looking directly at the ball at all times, watches the ball come off Dominic Calvert-Lewin's foot, watches the ball hit Harry Maguire's leg, and then simply cannot move to make the save because he's already moved in the position that Dominic Calvert-Lewin's hit it, and then he can't move back because of how quickly the game's gone. He can see that ball at every given point. Gylfi Sigurdsson moves his feet out of the way, it doesn't touch him, therefore it is not an offside. He isn't impeding with play because David De Gea has watched the ball throughout the entire process, and Gylfi Sigurdsson doesn't touch it, so therefore isn't offside, despite being in an offside position. Additionally, the ball finally hits Harry Maguire, goes in, therefore meaning that it's actually an own goal, therefore meaning that John Moss has given a VAR decision to disallow an own goal for offside. What the actual fuck are you doing, John? What the actual fuck are you doing, Chris Kavanagh? Are you doing John Moss? Are you doing VAR? You've literally just thought of an absolute bullshit reason to disallow a goal because you couldn't allow Manchester United to lose in that way. Chris Calvert-Lewin doesn't want to go over and check the monitor, doesn't want to go over and get involved because he's quite happy with not taking any of the responsibility on. He's quite happy being an absolute shithouse, sitting back going, I didn't make the decision, he did up there, and you can't have a go at him because he sat in an office and we can't see him. There you go. VAR gives it's no goal, and Everton fans are going mad, and rightly so. After you see it again in the replay, it's very clear that Calvert-Lewin isn't impeding with play, isn't impeding with David De Gea's line of sight, the ball doesn't touch him, so therefore he's not offside, and ultimately comes off Harry Maguire, therefore is an own goal. Gobsmacked. Absolutely, utterly gobsmacked at how this decision was allowed to just go off, be made, and pundits are coming out agreeing with it. If you're a Man United fan and you agree with this, you don't understand football. I've seen a lot of football fans, to be fair, that aren't Everton fans, that, even Man United fans that are saying it should have been a goal, it was a clear goal, there was nothing wrong with it. But if you're a Man United fan and you agree with this, then you genuinely, you don't understand football, because it's very, very clear that there was nothing wrong with this goal. Anyway, it's given against us. We've all seen it again on the replay. We all know that it's utter bullshit. The Premier League then come out retrospectively after the situation, because after the whole goal situation where we're all fuming and we all know that it was a clear goal and it should have stood and there was nothing wrong with it, but after that we sort of think, right, okay, well, if you're going to argue that that goal should be disallowed because for some reason Calvert-Lewin apparently is blocking David De Gea's view. He's not. David De Gea, what you're seeing now constantly with David De Gea, we've seen it against when we played them at Old Trafford. He's making excuses after every error he makes because he's just not a top-class goalkeeper anymore. He just isn't. I don't care what anybody says. He's not top 5 goalkeepers in the world anymore. He simply isn't. He's not even in the, he mightn't even be in the top 3 in the Northwest. He's definitely not in the top 2 in the Northwest, I'll tell you that. And what David De Gea does after every mistake he makes, a little bit like the one yesterday, a little bit like the one at Old Trafford, with Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal at Old Trafford, he's making excuses after every mistake to try and cover his back. There was nothing wrong with that goal. But anyway, Everton fans sort of, obviously massively frustrated, massively aggravated, me included. I was absolutely fuming yesterday. But then we sort of think, well, hang on. Okay, let's say that he does impede with his sight, which he doesn't, but let's say for argument's sake he does. Why is it then not taken back and a penalty given for the clear and obvious foul made on Calvert-Lewin in the lead up to that situation? If Calvert-Lewin isn't chopped down by Aaron Wan-Bissaka and isn't put on his ass, A, he ain't sitting on the floor for the ball to, for him to have to move his legs, therefore isn't in an offside position, and B, he potentially gets the rebound and scores. But no, he's chopped down and he's put on the floor. And again, the Premier League have come out and they've said that it wasn't enough contact for it to be deemed a penalty. But there was enough contact in the Everton versus Brighton game when there was a penalty given against Everton because Michael Keane accidentally stood on a Brighton player's foot. But there's penalties given for Mo Salah every week because somebody looks at him and he goes and throws himself on the floor. But this situation where an Everton player has been chopped down in the box and the defender has made no attempt to get the ball, hasn't won the ball, chopped down in the box, it's not a penalty because there's not enough contact. I just don't know anymore. I really, really just don't know. It's very, very clear that corruption lives in this league. It's very, very clear that the league's corrupt. It's very, very clear that the referees are corrupt. There's no other way about it. There's simply no other way about how they can possibly make an excuse as to why that goal was chalked off yesterday, and why we didn't receive a pen for the challenge on Calvert-Lewin. It's just absolute utter bollocks. It really, really is utter bollocks. And I had me rant about it yesterday, and I've done multiple videos talking about VAR, and I literally done one last week. You can watch it on the channel after today's stream. I've spoke about it multiple times. It's not VAR, it's not the video, it's not the assistant, it's the fella that's sitting behind the screen in the room that's making those decisions, who simply cannot make the decisions because he is thick as fuck. And John Moss is either thick as fuck or blatantly corrupt. And if the referees are this shit and this thick, they shouldn't be refereeing at this level. So it's either that or they're corrupt. And I honestly believe it's just a bunch of corrupt officials. I really, really do believe that. And it's exactly what we saw yesterday. Chris Calvert-Lewin not even willing to let Carlo Ancelotti speak. However, he's willing to let Fred throw himself into him aggressively and you know, barge himself into him with no retrospective action. Carlo Ancelotti barely says, explain to me why it was disallowed, and he's been sent off. But yeah, we're getting to the live comments now. Obviously, I dare say we'll talk a lot more about that in the stream. If you're enjoying the stream so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Let's get this live stream shared. Let's get it shared all over social media. Get as many people in here as possible. Good says, oh, I read that one. Martin says, the Gea saw the direction of the shot. He moved to the right, then got it deflected by a United player. Sigurdsson did not impede him on saving nor seeing the shot robbed. Exactly, spot on. CJ said, how is Gylfi in the way of sight when he's lying down and De Gea is standing up? Surprised if he can't see his legs. Exactly. David says, at least 7 points. VAR has cost us this season. Off the top of my head, might be more. Spot on. Ewan says, it is time to get rid of VAR right now because it is making the Premier League too boring. I agree. Chris's needs to be foreign officials and foreign referees on the pitch and in VAR. Junior says, Everton always getting robbed, but we will fight to the end. Why this always happens to us? Exactly. Martin says, by the way, possible penalty. The only reason Sigurdsson is in an offside position is because he was tackled. It's a definite penalty, not even a possible penalty. It's a definite penalty. Lennon says, it's a league that is only bothered on the top clubs. I've honestly had fans from all over the world saying it was a goal. Chris Calvert-Lewin is biased like all referees. It's not football with VAR ruining the game. Exactly. It's clear corruption, and if you're not part of that top elite, that top six, your Man United, your Tottenhams, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Liverpools, you know, then you're not going to get decisions like that. If that was flipped the other way around and it was Martial taken down in the box and then Bruno Fernandes who scores that goal, A, the goal's given perfectly, B, if the goal isn't given, it's given as a penalty, and that's just exactly how it is. Ian says, VAR fans, the corrupt officials hiding behind it. I agree. David says, United struggled for 10 minutes but then had 45 minutes on top before we woke up when Bernard come on. Fair point. Brad says, hiya lad, hey, hiya pal, fair play to you guys who played and the goal should have stood, although I'm really pleased with the fact we didn't lose, but you were hard done by Kevin Vender's referee for Chelsea. Exactly. And I know he is, and again he's another referee who barely knows his own name, so I dare say we're going to get done over in that game as well. David says, fair play Brad, spot on to Brad. Lennon says, the referee was looking at a reason to disallow that goal as Siggy was put in an offside position by being fouled. There was VAR in that situation. The referee was looking for a reason to disallow. I've just read that one, yeah. No, I agree 100%. And the referee was also looking for a reason to disallow the first goal as well. Now, don't get me wrong, when we scored, I was absolutely ecstatic. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's goal, I'm talking about the first goal. I was on my feet, I was made up, I was screaming at Dom, I was looking at Dom, pure sheer emotion. And I heard my dad next to me screaming, don't you fucking dare, don't you fucking dare. And I thought, who's he talking to there? Is there some fella who's about to launch a hot dog at him, or has someone got the tomato sauce and is about to down it? What's happening? Who's he talking to? And he's pointing and he's looking directly at the referee. And I said to him, I said to him, what are you talking about? And he said, he hasn't blown his whistle yet, and he hasn't pointed that way. He is looking for a reason as to why to not give that. And I honestly do believe in that situation, for our first goal, a couple of minutes into the game, the referee was listening to somebody in his ear who was saying, hang on, let's see if we can try and sort of knock this one on the head, because we can't be seen for David De Gea to be making such a silly mistake like that. Ultimately, there's no reason to disallow it, and he gives the goal. But again, another show of clear bias and clear want for referees to take away, you know, perfectly good goals from us. David says, I think Gylfi will be off in the summer, so Colin needs to maintain some value in him. That's a fair point. This is VAR is not fine at all. Not just our referees and officials, they need replacing. VAR needs to be used properly and correctly. It's not your armpit toenails offside. Don't be ridiculous. And the handball rule, Chris also says. Lennon says, Brad, that's an actual non-biased point, which I'm so happy to hear, because there are so many biased fans who know nothing about football. Spot on, I agree. Chris says, players need to shave their armpits now and cut their toenails. Got his DCL in the next England squad 100%. 100%. He deserves to be made such a fantastic young player. Brad says, thanks pal, I'll admit I wanted to believe the ref was right so we weren't accused of being a cheat or whatever, but it was a good goal and it would be devastating to lose in that way. Exactly. Matthew says, why so salty, man? Problem with the refs happen every season, but keep up the good work. Thanks for the compliment, but it's not just problems with the referees. If you were an Everton fan, you would understand the reasons as to why we're all angry. Abigail says it was clear and obvious. Exactly. David says, doesn't matter now, damage is done. Fair point. Cal says, Tom Davies was class yesterday, only Sidibe and Pickett was bad yesterday. I thought Tom Davies played well, to be honest. Lennon says, Pickford makes silly mistakes, but I was honestly, I loved it how happy he was and how much it meant to him and his team when he pulled that save off. Exactly, and you know what? Jordan Pickford, much like many other Everton players, much like many footballers, play on confidence. And Jordan Pickford yesterday, obviously, and very, very recently as well, has been playing, I'd say, with a little bit, low on confidence. You can see that the mistakes are getting to him a little bit, despite the fact that he may say they're not. The media stuff's getting to him a little bit as well. And you could see the sheer elation in him when he made that save yesterday, and the excitement in him is that, he's made that save that's ultimately kept us in the game, and hopefully that gives him loads and loads of confidence going forward, and hopefully we see a much more improved performance from him and he's not making any any silly mistakes next week against Chelsea. Cal says it doesn't matter big for the championship quality, he's gotten worse since Sunderland. I don't think he's championship quality. Dave says 9 Ed leading to goals since January 2018, picked at the top of that league. He needs to focus and ground his ego. It's hard to disagree with that one. Carl says, what's annoying me is where people are giving Carlo credit for showing passion at the end. I love Carlo, but Silva showed heart and passion at games. The man was jumping around when we scored, and he also says Pickford cost us too many games. And Stephen says, a day later and I'm still angry. That was a good goal. We were robbed. Exactly. Spot on. Anyway, talking about Carlo Ancelotti now, we may as well go into talking about him because it's been brought up. If you're enjoying this team, by the way, so far, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. We're on 24 likes now, 51 people in, so if you haven't already, please do hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. Only takes a second. We've got loads of content coming up over the next couple of weeks, of course, and we are definitely going to talk more about Carlo Ancelotti's ban on Wednesday if it still stands. But anyway, talking about Carlo Ancelotti, obviously, like I said, if you didn't love Carlo Ancelotti unlimited amounts yesterday, I'm sure you love him unlimited amounts today. The passion that man showed, not only in going up to the referee at the end of the game and asking for an explanation and arguing his point, but also in, like I said, the situation regarding Tom Davies and Dominic Calvert-Lewin getting himself involved. He was on the pitch at one point. Duncan Ferguson had to walk onto the pitch and pull him off. It says a lot when Duncan Ferguson is having to go over to you and say, listen, stand back a little bit, come away from it, this isn't really your fight. That says a lot about the fact that this man has come in Carlo Ancelotti, and he really, really does care about this football club, and he cares about the progression, and he cares about where we're going, and he's not just here for one final payday. He's not just here for the money. He's here for the progression of the football club and these players. You can see that in his actions. You can see that in the players' performances. You can see that in the players' actions as well. And again, we saw that yesterday. I absolutely made up with Carlo Ancelotti's reaction. Not just, accepting it, not just saying it, it's the referee's decision and we have to respect that, but going over and saying, listen, you explain to me why that perfectly good goal wasn't given. I'm absolutely made up Carlo Ancelotti reacted the way he did. The ban is utter bollocks, like we mentioned before. How he's received the ban for simply asking a question is beyond me. But, like I said, it just shows the passion that man's got. And I honestly think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with within the next couple of seasons with Carlo Ancelotti. Once he gets the opportunity to bring his own players in and embed his tactics a little bit more, we're going to, the top sides in England, the likes of your Uniteds, your Tottenhams, your Chelseas, your Arsenal, they're going to be shit scared of us because we've got a manager who tactically is much, much better than 95% of managers in this Premier League. Tactically, much better than, you could argue more than 95% of managers. Tactically, worlds better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he showed that in the second half of yesterday's game. And like I said, the passion that he shows, the want to go over and argue the point, the family feeling that he's taken as since coming into Everton, saying that he's an Evertonian, he loves the city, he loves the club, he loves the fans. You can see that the players are loving him as well. The amount of performances that have just been elated since he's come in. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has looked an absolute world beater since he's come in. Mason Holgate has looked world class. Tom Davies is coming in and performing. Theo Walcott's looked a lot better. Richarlison has looked unbelievable. He just is. a fantastic manager, and I'm so happy that he is our manager for the foreseeable future. And I honestly do believe, with a couple of his signings in the summer, embedding his philosophy still, bringing in his tactics, I do believe that next season we, again, not getting to it either ourselves, but I do believe we could be a force to be reckoned with. And I'm just made up that he's got that passion and he's got that fire in him to show. Not only just not going to stand there on the sideline. And I'm not saying that Marco Silva just stood there on the sideline. I'm not saying that any other previous manager did, but I'm glad that Carlo Ancelotti has got the bollocks to go up to referees and saying, listen, that was wrong and I want you to explain to it. He said in his post-game press conference yesterday, talking about the red card, he said, listen, it's not me first and it won't be me last either. And that for me is just fantastic to hear, because it shows that he's not about to bow down to the clear corruption in the Premier League. James says, me thinking is 3 more points and we are safe from relegation. I don't know why Siggy sat on the floor for so long. He wasn't injured, because when we scored, he ran off like a bullet. Yeah, the only reason I can think as to why Gylfi Sigurdsson remained on the floor is because I can only assume in his head he's thinking, right, okay, I'm going to stay here now and I'm going to wait for the ball to go out to play, because he probably thought that the ball was going to come off David De Gea, obviously after the save, ultimately be cleared and go out to play, and he's probably thinking, I'm going to sit here and say to the referee, I've been clearly fouled there. You best check that back on VAR. But I don't know. Ultimately, yeah, he should have potentially got up. Like I said, in retrospect, he should have got up. But realistically, the goal should have counted anyway, so it wouldn't have made any difference. Joe says Pickford has some potential, but the stupid mistakes always let him down. But then he makes a fantastic save. He just needs to be more consistent. Exactly, spot on. That is the word, consistency. Silvio says Brazil. Cal says what's confused me is people are fuming and down that we are not getting Europa. But let's be honest, it wasn't for Carlo, we would be relegated. This team is going places. Rome wasn't built in a day. Exactly. And if we don't finish in a European place this season, if we don't get in the Europa League this season, and Carlo Ancelotti comes out all guns blazing next season and brings in a load of his players in the summer, and we keep the likes of Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Mason Holgate, and then we go on, to finish comfortably in a European position next season, then I'll take that. Matthew says Cop end, and that's a goal given 100%. It's 100% agree with you, mate. Carl says I'm not gonna lie, VAR wasn't ruining my passion at all. This is my love. The best fans agree or disagree. We are the best, and the players have played for us since Dunk. Remember, Europe or not. Come on, you Blues. Spot on. And exactly, it's not, it is ruining the elation of the game. It's not going to stop Evertonians from jumping up if we score a last minute winner, but it's definitely going to mean that after that sort of initial 15-20 seconds of elation, you are sitting there thinking, is it being given, is it going to be given? And that was the feeling yesterday, wasn't it? Jem says, hello Cam, hello Jem, I'm doing well. I enjoy your rant yesterday, spot on for me, mate. It's just a massive swizz. It is, exactly. John says it's a fucking goal. It definitely is. Carl says, not going to lie, Cam Moise-Keane has definitely grown on me. What a player he will be. Spot on. Again, another player that's come on tenfold since Carlo Ancelotti's come in. Matthew says, this is funny. Wimmy says, how's everyone going? Cam lad, I'm not too bad. Wimmy, I hope you're doing well yourself. Bear with me just 2 seconds. James says, can Pickford just concentrate though for their goal? He wouldn't have to make up for anything if he kept switch on. Potentially, that's a really, really good point. Nanda says, we have to get better on corner kicks. Had so many and didn't punish. Mina is the only real threat, and without him, we never looked a threat. Moss probably had his United kit on during the match. He did, definitely. And I agree, we do need to be... we do need to be a bigger threat at corners. Wimmy says, I agree, VAR should have let the goal stand. However, let's have it right. That disallowed goal should have been goal 4 or 5 or something. Then it would have been a man argument. 27 corners in the second half, and we can't convert any. That's a fair point as well. Like I said, we did have an awful lot of chances. And before that situation, before the last 2 minutes of the game, I was coming out sort of thinking, we've got a draw there, but it wasn't the best performance, was it? Let's be honest. Despite the much better second half performance, we weren't unbelievable for the entire game. It's a fair point. God says, imagine Big Dunk and the mob showing up at the refs' houses. Wimmy says, touche Hernandez. Wimmy says, if you watch the ASCs where the shot is going and moves that way, the deflected wrong foot him, so clearly his line of sight. But this is what we have. That's what they tell fighters, don't leave it in. Yeah, exactly. And like we said multiple times, his line of sight isn't blocked whatsoever. And it's clear that he can see the ball through every single step of the way, and he's just making an excuse. William says the hands of the judges because they're idiots. Matthew says you're salty. I'm not, mate. Just seriously, Matthew. He says wasn't any contact on Gerrard a few moons ago when he fell over in the box after putting a shot wide, and the ref gave a pen saying he was put off. Exactly. but he plays for a different club, doesn't he? Cal says, or plays for a different club. Cal says, Matthew, obviously, we should have had the 3 points. William says, Liverpool supporter Watford, though. Joel says, when we beat Chelsea 3-1, Tammy Abraham was offside and clearly blocked the view of Jordan Pickford, and that led to the goal, yet Gylfi can't move his legs without it being offside. Exactly. David says, aren't we the only club not to have a penalty this season? It's not being salty to cost them short. We are the only club to have not been given a penalty in the Premier League this season. William says, even after Dirty Van Dijk purposely broke poor little Delafeo. Cal says, Joel, because we aren't the big six, why do you think they hate the fact that they have that we have the best manager in the world? It's a really, really good point. William says, oh, shut him up, Jess. Corn says, how's it, Cam? You well, mate? When will decision to go away? I'm not too bad, other than being absolutely fuming about yesterday. When will decisions go our way? I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think, I've been alive 21 years and decisions haven't gone our way as of yet, so I really don't know. Ian says we were all laughing at Liverpool. Ian says, remember Don Hutchinson's goal against the Shite being ruled out after the goalie kicked the ball against his back and it rolled in? I don't remember that, mate. I was probably a little bit too young, but it doesn't surprise me. Chris says he doesn't care about us, Eugene. Why would he? Wormy says, Righty was an idiot. If Sigurdsson moves, he is still offside and probably more in De Gea's view. Not like he could transport himself onside or out of the way. Exactly, he can't. I said this yesterday on the Instant Match Reaction. I think I said it on Twitter. He can't disappear, can he? He can't. Gylfi Sigurdsson can't disappear, and he's in that position because he's been clearly fouled. First and foremost, he's not in the view of the keeper whatsoever because the goalkeeper's standing up and is over 6 foot and Gylfi Sigurdsson is lying down. So he's not in the view of the keeper whatsoever. So ultimately, it's either a penalty or it's a goal. One or the other. And the fact that they've given neither is complete corruption and beyond me. Matthew says, don't worry, mate, Liverpool lost. I don't really care. David says, exactly, Chris. You had a fantastic season and deserve to win it. Wormy says, but still, we should have already put the game to bed. Then VAR ripping us wouldn't even matter. We could have wrapped the game up. It's a fair point. Man says, good night from Malaysia. Good night, thank you very much. Jess says, yeah, they did, Matthew, but this is an Everton team. If you wouldn't mind keeping it Everton related. Thanks very much, Jess. David says, go on, Jess, don't hold back. Reece says, who's asked about Liverpool, focus on the toffees. Cal says, I'm sorry, but Bernard is our most important player. Yesterday, we was flat poor until he came on. Until he come on, our attack was unstoppable. He did change the game. I felt he did change the game. Wim says, I don't get it, Cal. Why Walcott gets straight back into the team and Sigurdsson again? Garbage for 90 minutes, but still we play him. I'd definitely be considering taking Sigurdsson out. Again, Walcott was poor yesterday. I actually felt like he played well over the last couple of weeks or so before he got the injury, but he was poor yesterday. Because to be fair, Walcott hasn't had one bad game under Carlo, which will be Walcott, Richarlison, DCL, Bernard. People don't realise our wingers move into the 10 role. Gylfi doesn't, so does Bernard. Ian says, need 3 players. CB, right wing, CM, Bin, Walcott, Sig and Delph. William says, yeah, but he gives us nothing, Cal. No goals, no assists, so what's the point? Tony says, ironically, Gylfi attempts to do nothing and he costs us the game. Tate says, lucky we won't get Europe on the coronavirus. Chris says, as a Liverpool fan, I even come on here to talk about Everton because Everton seems. Cheers, David. Spot on, Chris. Eugene says, Kevin Friend is going to be the referee. Exactly, what a joke. Carl says, Theo has 1 goal, 2 assists in his last 3 games. Baines can have my kids, 35, and has the pace of a 21-year-old. What a man, best left back ever. And again, really, really good point. What a fantastic professional and what a fantastic player Leighton Baines is. Leighton Baines, again, stepping in, 35 years of age, playing against the side with loads of pace in attack. I know Daniel James didn't feature yesterday, but Martial, Mason Greenwood, absolute bags of pace in attack, and still looked as composed as he did when he was 21 and when he was 22, 23. What a fantastic player and professional and legend of Everton Football Club Leighton Baines is. Another really good performance by him yesterday. Dosp says, I can't believe United fans are trying to tell me the offside decision was correct. They're delusional. Spot on. Keith says, if roles were reversed, they would have given the goal to Man United. I agree. Bobby says, if he was in view of him, then why did he move when the shot was taken? He wasn't in view of him, that's the point. Wayne says, hit the like, guys, support the channel. If you could, it'd mean a massive amount to me. Hernandez says, so it seems most British pundits defending the rest, but all the pundits in the US were livid. It was a goal frustrating. FA is a farce, although fantastic job for Baines. There's a reason why the British pundits are protecting the referees, and that's because Sky Sports, BT Sports, they pay the Premier League, they pay the FA, who pay the referees. So it's all a big sort of family of corruption, and they have to back each other, don't they? Reece says, if you had to sign 2 players right now, who would it be? Timo Werner and Jack Grealish. Uden says, Everton boss Carlo Ancelotti charged with misconduct. He was. Wim says, Doshi made it. Dosbick says, yeah, almost an hour late. Again, no. And Carl says, Also, Coleman has been boss of late. He played okay yesterday. He played okay when he come on, to be fair. Carlos says, Stevie position is scandalous. I would, not when he come on, when he started. Stevie position is scandalous. I would rest him for that position. He takes 10 or 15 minutes to get into a game, Sidibe, and then he sort of settles. And then he does okay, but his positioning definitely needs to be looked at. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live team. That's going to do it for the live game review. Obviously, massively frustrating. I didn't just want to make it a rant video about VAR because we ranted a load about it yesterday, and I feel like we're sitting here week in, week out saying the same things really about VAR. We're talking about how disgraceful it is. We're talking about how corrupt the referees are, how biased the officials are, and it's just becoming a joke, isn't it? Really, and you know what? Listen, at the end of the day, we won that game fair and square yesterday, but the officials, the Premier League, the FA, Chris Cavanhagh's a disgrace and a shithouse, John Moss is a disgrace and a shithouse, and then that's where we are now. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's live stream. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Hit that like button if you have enjoyed. We'll be back on Wednesday. It'll be a video on Wednesday, but we are definitely going to delve into talking about, a little bit more about Carlo Ancelotti's ban and discussing why it's utter bollocks really. But it will be a video on Wednesday. It'll probably be up around 6:15, 6:30. So don't forget to join us for that one, and then back for the usual content on Friday. We'll have the live game preview to the Chelsea game. Obviously, I will be doing the Goodison Park sleepout on Friday. I've mentioned it before. I'll be doing it with my girlfriend. If you've got any spare change whatsoever, if you could donate to our Just Giving pages in the description down below, that would mean an absolute amount to both of us. So definitely check them out. I'm sure you all know what the Goodison Park sleepout is, raising awareness for homelessness in young people. That is on Friday as well. But we'll be live on Friday before that with the live game preview to the game against Chelsea, and also we'll have a video on Wednesday night as well. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. Massive thanks for all of the support on yesterday's instant match reaction, despite the fact that it was a shocking end to the game, and a big thanks for all of your support on social medias, Twitters, Instagrams as well recently. It means a massive amount to me. Dosby says, do we know about anything about Ancelotti being banned for the next week games? So the FA released a statement earlier today to say that he's been charged with improper conduct and he has until Thursday to respond. The Echo, Greg O'Keefe, have said, it was Greg O'Keefe, not Patrick Boylan. They said Patrick Boylan before, but it was Greg O'Keefe. He has said that Everton are looking to basically appeal that, and hopefully he'll be on the touchline against Chelsea. Wavy says, if anyone's has problems with FIFA freezing, I can help. There you go. Soraya says, how many goals that are scrambled in from corner stands? You don't see players moving out the way of the keeper. Exactly. Carl says, I can never talk bad about Coleman. He is a legend. He is. Eugene to see about the toffees. Thanks very much, Eugene. Joe says, bye, Cam. Great to see you. Thanks very much, Joe. Really do appreciate that. Chris says, take care, mate. Great channel, great chat, and great fans as always. Thanks very much, Chris. Really do appreciate that one. Carl says, bye, Cam. Have a good night. Have a good night, Carl. I hope you do. William says, take care, everyone. Have a good week. When you're back, Cam, Wednesday. Yeah, we'll be back with a video on Wednesday around 6:15 to 6:30. But we'll be back live on Friday, 5:15. So join us for that one. Hernandez says, I feel like they watched your VAR video midweek and made sure to mess with Everton because of it. All the best, Cam. Don't be blaming me. Don't be blaming me, mate. It's not me. Mary says, let's start smashing people so we can't get robbed. Teams still need work. David says, later, David. Vagan says, just found your sour grapes, mate. De Gea gave you a goal. Romeo's better. Not sour grapes, mate. But we were robbed of 3 points. James says, I blame Pickford initially for the goal, but I think the defence were at fault giving Fernandes too much room. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Big thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.